they come to us like, I'm never going to be able to retire. It's like, actually, you can retire right now on more money than you're making.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Retirement Fundamentals. I'm your host, Kylie Malat, joined by our co-host, Ryan Anderson. This platform is mainly for people who are entering in or who are already in retirement. So Ryan and I help folks retire every single day, and we get a ton of questions about retirement because it is a subject that isn't talked about a ton. So we actually got a write-in from Brenda from Dayton, Ohio. And she asked, "Will I run out of money in retirement?" And I know Ryan and I, we both do workshops and we teach people one-on-one. And this question pops up time and time again because that's what people wonder. How much money do I need? How much is it going to cost? Because it's the big unknown, right?
Mhm.
When you're planning for 30 years in the future, that can be super daunting and very overwhelming. And instead of facing that just head on, a lot of people bury their head in the sand and they just continue to put money away and then cross their fingers and hope that it all works out. Hope is a great thing. It is not a retirement plan or solution. Okay. So if this is sounding like you and you're like, oh, Brenda and I are in the same boat, never fear. Ryan and I are here to help you and give you some advice of just what we've experienced. Like I said, I've been in this industry 5 years now. Ryan's been 10, 12. Or is it 10 years, Ryan? How long have you been in
14,
just retirement? 14?
14. Yeah.
Well, he just dated himself, but that's a lot of time in in homes, right? That's a lot of time sitting across from people who are going to retire or already retired and saying, "Hey, this is what plan I have. Is there anything that I can do better?" So, Brenda from Dayton, Ohio, when will I run out of money in retirement? So, Ryan, what would you say to Brenda?
It depends.
I knew you were
I,
going to
I hate
say
to say
that.
that, but that's it is. So there's too many variables to that. I wish I could sit down and look at everybody in the eye and say, all right, you're not going to run out of money in retirement. There are some people I can look in the eye and say, you're going to run out of money in retirement. It's really
Yeah.
easy. Then there's the people on the fence. I could see it go either way, but there's too many variables with that. So what we need to do is we need to break down where you're at and where you're going. We've done a couple of other podcasts recently. One of them talked about how to calculate how much money you need in retirement. The other one goes through and it gave you the actual process for calculating it. Then it goes through and how much money are you going to need in retirement? These are all questions that are part of the same question. But in this format, we try to keep these to about 10, 12 minutes so that we can actually answer the one question and then you can have a library to search through the others from. So if we look at this, will I run out of money in retirement? It depends on where your money is at. It depends on how much you spend. It depends on your debt service. It depends on the types of investments and vehicles they're in, and it depends on where your other resources are. So if you are living on Social Security, and so you're making, $1,000 a month on Social Security. The average Social Security in the U.S. is like $24,419 a year, according to last year's numbers. That's the average Social Security income. I saw a report here yesterday or earlier that said it was about 23,000. So low 20s is kind of where most people are at with Social Security.
Yep.
So if you've got that, will that run out? Well, it's as stable as the federal government. Currently, you can go to ssa.gov and find an article that says when the Social Security trust fund runs out, there's going to be a retroactive 25%, I think 22 to 25%, something like that, reduction in benefits across the board. Meaning if you're making $1,000 now, when that happens, then they think that's going to happen in roughly 2032. You're going to get a 25% cut in your Social Security. You're going to go from 1,000 to 750. So that is on the table right now. Will that change? Maybe. Will it not? Maybe. It depends. Are you receiving a pension? Only about 14% of retirement income in the United States comes from a pension. So odds are probably not. So now we look at our other sources of income and we want to look at the vehicles that you are keeping your money in. If you're keeping it in an equities account, mutual funds, that kind of a thing, like when you left your employer and you decide, you know what, I'm just going to leave it in my old 401k right where it's at. Nice company, they did a good job for me. I'm loyal, whatever the reason. Um, and then I'm just going to have them send me a check each month. That is a much riskier proposal than uh, doing something else with it. If we look at the last 100 years of the S&P 500, that it has been up 74.8 years. It has been down 25.2 years. Now, the S&P 500 is simply an index, but it's a good indicator of how the market is doing. And so, if the market has been up 75% of the time, roughly, that means it's down 25% of the time. That means that 1 out of every 4 years, you have an expectation of taking a loss. Now, when you're working, that's fine because you've got time on your hands. But when you're moving to retirement, if that loss happens right when you retire, or maybe and the next 4 years loss happens right there, and because it doesn't go up for 4 years and down for one, up for 4 years and down for one. That's not how it works.
Right.
That we have periods of time where you have months, years in a row where you have negative returns. And if that happens at the very beginning of retirement, that can really impact you. And that's what they call sequence risk. But one of the things about this is that if we go through, there are some strategies that you can employ at the very beginning of your career, of your retirement, to make sure you never run out of money. Number one is doing Social Security, and we're going to talk about here in another podcast about when you should start Social Security and how to maximize that. We've done that a couple of times, and we're going to have another one that's a very popular subject. But as we go through here, the vehicles that you choose to put your money into in retirement is a big deal. You hear us talking often about fixed index annuities. We love these things. That they are the safe, stable, guaranteed income sources. It's like having pension-like income. In fact, a lot of people, it's funny when they say this, like, I don't want an annuity. Don't even talk to me about annuity and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. And I was like, all right, so you want nothing to do with an annuity? No, nothing. Are you aware that Social Security is an annuity? And because you're an ethical person and you want nothing to do with annuity, I'm assuming you send your Social Security check back every month. Is that correct? Yeah, no, they're not going to do that.
No.
And that's what it is that there's a preconceived notion on what they are. And you get advisors out there that go ahead and have got a business model where they're paid a compensation of X amount percent per month, 3% a month, whatever it is. And so then they don't get that if they put it into an annuity. Then you get other individuals out there that are, it's like, I'm not going to even say his name because it just ticks me off. But it goes through and he just trash talks these things, and because they don't understand the value of them, they don't that you're moving from accumulation to distribution. And quite often, the most financial advisors, most speculators out there, the way that they measure their success is how much money did it grow? How much did I get it bigger? Which is what you should do when you're in the accumulation side of life. But when you transition to the distribution side, the conversation should be, how much money did I save? How much money am I guaranteed not to lose? And what does my income look like? A little bit of growth would be great, but it's much more important for me not to lose what I have. And then you go in there and they've got different versions of safe. Well, this is a relatively safe product. Well, your version of relatively safe and mine are not the same. Mine is
No.
no chance of loss. What's your version? Oh, you've only got a 30% chance of loss. That's worse than the
Yeah.
stock market because they lose 25% of the time. Okay, so all right, for those of you who are listening to this audio, I just made a face that was fantastic. I'm just going to say that. All right, we're there. But so,
Well, I think
well,
something
I'm
to
going to
go
run
off
out.
that, Ryan, to go off that, what I have a hard time really letting people understand or having it sink in is sequence risk because
Mhm.
it it's kind of like smoke and mirrors, right? Some people can be greatly affected, and if they are, then God rest their soul, right? If you're affected by sequence risk return or a sequence return risk, that means you've been hit hard your first 4 years in retirement. But people can all day say, well, the market's up, but the market's up. I'm great. I can just steady that course. And
Yeah,
that term is so hard because we have seen people copy plans, right? Whether it's their siblings or their husband, or it doesn't matter, or a guru online. They copy that exact same plan, but when they put their money in, well, the market was down. So they put their money in, the market went down, they took money out, and so they're their portfolio can't grow like it normally would, right? Because you have to
Yeah.
forget people forget, well, I have all this money. Yeah, but you are taking some out, and you're taking more out each year, every year, due to cost of living. So you maybe you're taking $50,000 out this year. Well, you're going to take $51,000 out next year, or whatever the case may be, right?
Hmm.
So let's just play that. Let's say they're taking $50,000 out, and boom, before they even take something out, they get hit with a -4 return. What is that going to do?
Well, that's going to be $2,000 off the top, which means they have to gain. In the way the math works, you now have $48,000 to try to recover with, which means that you've got to have a $3,000 growth, $48,000 in order to. So 4%, you're going to have a 6% growth to get back to the 50,000 you were at. It's not a 4% growth because 4% of 48,000 is less than 4% of 50,000. So they've got a smaller chunk to recover with.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to go through, still going to have to take money out for to live on the next year, the next month, whatever it might be. And
Yep.
so even if the market stays down, we're going to kind of go from there. I've got an article here from Andrew Biggs, and this is in a look. This is from Forbes, and he went through, and the title of this article is "Half of All Retirees Will Run Out of Money." But that's the good news. I like Andrew Biggs's thought process. And he says here, and this is a great quote, and he says, the bad news is that Morningstar, now Morningstar is a highly respected financial reporting industry organization, projects that 45% of Americans won't be able to cover their projected retirement spending, which triggers a worrying headline. And it goes on to say here that as of the 2017 census, seniors receive only about 3/4 of their total income from Social Security, pensions, and retirement accounts. The lowest income retirees, who Morningstar finds are particularly unprepared, receive just 61% of their income from these three sources. So while other seniors won't be able to cover their spending using only income from Social Security, pensions, and retirements and withdrawal accounts, they might be able to do so using other income sources that Morningstar doesn't count. That means they're going to continue working. Maybe they've got
Mm.
real estate. Maybe they've got something else out there. But according to this, somewhere between 61 and what was the other number? That 45% of people can't do it, and they're only able to cover 61% of their retirement from these sources. What are we going to do at that point in time? And then and so you've got the sequence risk, then we've got the longevity risk, outliving your money and all of those things.
Yeah.
This is why I always come back to fixed indexed annuity. It
Yep.
is a freaking guarantee. I'm going to get the money here every month. I'm going to get a check for no matter how long I live. And unlike Social Security, if I pass away, my wife or mine, whoever Social Security is less, it goes away. But with an annuity, that income will remain in effect for both mine and my wife's life at the same dollar amount, possibly increasing for no matter how long we live. And it's just, I think it's, I hate to use this word so strongly, but I think it's actually irresponsible not to seriously consider something like this for your retirement if you were concerned about your spouse or your income in a big way, especially if you've got relatively limited reserves.
Well, I think it's important to remember we have a lot of things we're good at, right? And we're not attacking you for not being all money managers. We're not all money managers. That's not what we do for a living. It should be what you do with your own personal finances. But with what a fixed index annuity does that helps a ton of people is it takes away the thinking, because you're
Hmm.
going to buy this annuity and you're going to say, okay, now I don't have to worry about how much to take out. It's going to do it for me. This is going to think for me, and it's all guarantees. So the thinking for you, I use air quotes when I say that, is all in that illustration. So you can open up that illustration. It's going to tell you exactly what that annuity is going to do. It's going to give you best case scenario, worst case scenario, and what has previously happened the past 10 years. So you're going to
Hmm.
get a good look of what you're getting yourself into. And I really like them. I like to refer to them as like peace of mind plans for those people who are like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? This is something that you can do that will think for you, and you will get a check every single month, and it will be as peaceful as your social security. You know your social security is going to pop up every single month. Now you know you've bought an extra set of income to pop up every single month. Tom Hagner refers to it as your paycheck, which is your social security, and then you got your playcheck, which is your retirement accounts. And together you can thrive. So with this fixed index annuities or annuities of any sort, minus your variable, right? You're looking for security. And in retirement, that's what we're looking for, right? That's when we need to have that mindset shift of saying, okay, I'm no longer on the accumulation side. How do I make this money last for forever, but in a
Hmm.
way that's going to help me thrive in retirement? This can be one solution. And I hope you're not thinking, I don't have enough or I have too much. Ryan and I have helped people anywhere from 5 million. I mean, Doug, who is on our team, his biggest was 50 million. And then Ryan and I have helped people who are working at Walmart who have $50,000 and don't know their
Hmm.
next move. I mean, we've met with people in a Starbucks and said, "Okay, what do you got going?" And she said, "I don't have much. I think I'm going to have to work until I'm 90." And if you were just looking at it, it did look that way. It I don't want to say bleak, but it was just like, oh no, like she might. And then she pulled up a retirement account that she had tucked away. She hadn't managed it at all, so it didn't have big growth, but it was enough to get her some income in a few years. So did we did we retire her that day? No. But did we give her a plan to say, okay, if you continue to work here, you can do part time. And then once this year hits, we can have this annuity come in. And it gave her a plan to say, okay, I'm not going to work until I'm 90. I'm actually only going to work for a couple more years and then I can have this and this work for me. So I hope you're not listening to this and saying, that's not for me. That doesn't fit my life. It absolutely does. An annuity should be a staple in every portfolio. There should be
Hmm.
guarantees in every portfolio. Am I saying throw all of it in your eggs in one basket? No, right? Everyone, no one's going to say that. Um, but we are saying there are a time and a place. And annuity, when you get into retirement, there is a time and a place for that. So check us out at retirementfundamentals.org. It's .org, not .com. And you can, I mean, do some research. That's what Ryan and I do all day here on this platform is we help give you some information that maybe you haven't heard before. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
No, that's it. Just come check us out. If you've got a question or if you think that this might be something that interests you, give us a call. We do no cost exploratory calls every day. So,
Yep.
and it's amazing how often we can help more people that they come to us like, I'm never going to be able to retire. It's like, actually, you can retire right now on more money than you're making. And it's amazing how, if you understand how these things work, that you can help tremendous amounts of folks. But we look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you so much for tuning in today.